Take a look at your arm. At first, it seems completely ordinary skin, a few tiny hairs, nothing unusual. But if you compare yourself to almost every other mammal on Earth, something remarkable stands out. Lions have thick coats. Wolves survive freezing winters beneath dense fur. Even chimpanzees, your closest living relatives, are covered from head to toe with dark hair. You aren't somewhere in the distant past. Your ancestors underwent one of the strangest transformations in the history of life. They lost the thick fur that had protected mammals for millions of years, and no one knows exactly why. Scientists have debated this mystery for more than a century. Was it the scorching African sun, deadly parasites, the need to run farther than any other animal? Or did something even more surprising reshape the human body? The answer isn't hidden in a laboratory. It's written into your skin. Every goosebump you get on a cold morning, every drop of sweat that rolls down your face during summer, even the hair growing on your head while the rest of your body remains nearly bare. These aren't random traits. They're ancient clues. Millions of years ago, long before cities, before farming, before language as we know it, your ancestors lived in a world where survival depended on every tiny advantage. A single evolutionary change could mean the difference between passing on your genes or disappearing forever. And somehow, against all odds, losing something that almost every mammal depends on may have become one of humanity's greatest advantages. But here's where the mystery becomes even stranger. Humans aren't actually hairless. In fact, your body still contains millions of hair follicles. So if the hair never truly disappeared, what exactly did evolution change to answer that question? We have to travel back millions of years, to a time when your ancestors looked nothing like the humans you know today. Imagine standing in East Africa 6 million years ago. There are no cities, no roads, no houses. The only sounds are the wind moving through tall grass, distant bird calls, and the occasional roar of a predator somewhere beyond the horizon. This is where your story begins. Your ancestors didn't look like modern humans. They were smaller, stronger, and completely covered in thick body hair, much like the great apes alive today. Their lives revolved around one simple goal: survive until tomorrow. Every sunrise brought new dangers. Lions hid in the grass. Leopards waited silently in the trees. Crocodiles guarded the rivers. Even finding food could become a life-or-death decision. One mistake could end a family line that had survived for thousands of generations. For millions of years, fur had been one of nature's greatest inventions. It trapped warm air against the skin during cold nights. It protected against scratches from thorny bushes. It shielded the body from biting insects in harsh sunlight. Across the animal kingdom, thick fur wasn't a weakness. It was a survival tool refined by evolution over tens of millions of years. So why would any species ever give it up? At first glance, it makes no sense. Losing a thick coat should have made our ancestors more vulnerable. Hot sun could burn exposed skin. Cold nights would become even colder. Cuts and insect bites would become more common. From an evolutionary perspective, it looked like a terrible trade, and evolution rarely rewards terrible ideas. That's what makes this mystery so fascinating. Natural selection doesn't make changes because they're interesting. Every major change survives only if it improves the chances of living long enough to reproduce. If humans gradually lost their dense body fur, there had to be an advantage powerful enough to outweigh every new risk. Something in Africa was changing. The climate became drier. Vast forests slowly gave way to open woodlands and wide grasslands. Instead of climbing trees for fruit, many of our ancestors were forced to travel farther across open land in search of food and water. Walking longer distances became part of daily life. Then walking turned into something even more extraordinary: running. Not the explosive sprint of a cheetah, not the lightning-fast chase of a lion, but something far more unusual. Humans were becoming endurance runners, and that may have changed everything, because while other predators could outrun us for a few seconds, our ancestors were beginning to master something almost no other mammal could do. They could keep going for hours. And hidden beneath their skin was an evolutionary secret that made this possible, a secret that may explain why humans gave up one of nature's oldest survival tools. For decades, scientists searched for a reason why our ancestors would abandon something that had protected mammals for millions of years. One idea kept rising above the rest, not because it explained everything, but because it explained something extraordinary. Unlike almost every other animal on Earth, humans aren't built to be the fastest. A cheetah can reach speeds of over 100 kilometers per hour. A lion can sprint with explosive power. Even an average horse can easily outrun the fastest human. So how did our ancestors ever catch food? The answer wasn't speed, it was endurance. Imagine the African savanna nearly 2 million years ago. The midday sun is unforgiving. The ground shimmers with heat. Most predators have already retreated into the shade, conserving energy until evening. Running under the blazing sun would be dangerous. Body temperatures rise quickly, muscles overheat, and exhaustion sets in within minutes. But your ancestors did something different. Instead of hiding from the heat, they walked straight into it. They spotted an antelope in the distance and began following it, not with a sudden burst of speed, but with steady, relentless movement. The animal sprinted away. Your ancestors kept walking. Minutes passed. The antelope slowed to recover. The humans closed the distance. The animal ran again. The humans kept coming. Hour after hour, this silent chase continued across the open plains. This hunting strategy is known today as persistence hunting, and some traditional hunter-gatherer communities have practiced versions of it into modern times. Instead of outrunning prey, they simply refused to stop. Eventually, the exhausted animal reached its limit. Its body became dangerously hot, its muscles failed, and it collapsed. Not because humans were faster, but because humans were better at staying cool. That was the real advantage. While many mammals cool themselves mainly by panting, panting has limits. It competes with breathing during intense movement. The blazing African sun may have rewarded bodies that could stay cool, but heat wasn't the only challenge our ancestors faced. There was another enemy, one they couldn't outrun, one they couldn't even see. Imagine sleeping on the ground millions of years ago. No beds, no tents, no mosquito nets. As darkness falls, tiny creatures begin to emerge from the grass. Fleas, ticks, lice, mites, each one searching for blood. Most are little more than a nuisance, but some carry something far more dangerous. Disease. Long before humans understood bacteria or viruses, parasites were already shaping evolution. They spread infections, weakened immune systems, and reduced the chances of surviving long enough to have children. To a parasite, thick fur isn't just hair, it's an entire ecosystem. Dense fur creates warmth, humidity, and thousands of tiny hiding places where parasites can feed, reproduce, and avoid being removed. Once they settle in, they're incredibly difficult to eliminate. Now imagine what happens when that thick coat begins to disappear. The hiding places vanish. Ticks become easier to spot. Lice have fewer places to cling. Fleas are exposed to sunlight instead of remaining safely hidden beneath layers of fur. A body with less dense hair becomes much easier to inspect, clean, and groom. For highly social animals like our ancestors, that mattered. Grooming wasn't simply about looking clean. It was healthcare. Chimpanzees spend hours carefully picking insects and parasites from each other's fur. These moments strengthen social bonds, but they also reduce the number of dangerous parasites living on the body. Early humans almost certainly groomed each other too, but as body fur became thinner, grooming became faster and far more effective. A small parasite hiding on bare skin is much easier to find than one buried deep inside a thick coat. Some scientists believe this may have created a powerful evolutionary advantage. Individuals with slightly less body fur may have carried fewer parasites. Fewer parasites meant fewer infections. Fewer infections meant healthier adults. And healthier adults were more likely to survive and raise healthy children. It sounds like a simple idea, but evolution often works through countless tiny advantages repeated over thousands of generations. No single generation suddenly woke up without fur. Instead, each generation may have been just a little different from the one before it. Slightly thinner hair, slightly better cooling, slightly fewer parasites. On their own, those changes were almost invisible. Together, over millions of years, they transformed an entire species. But there's a problem. Many mammals carry parasites. Dogs have fleas, deer have ticks, monkeys have lice, yet none of them evolved skin like ours. If parasites were the whole story, why didn't evolution push every mammal in the same direction?